Welcome to this edition of When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine, a discussion of sustainable living and what that means to you and me. Coming to you from WOUB Radio, Studio B. I'm Jay Warmke.
I'm Annie Warmke.
Oh, yes, you are. And today we're joined by our good friend Jimi Braswell. And welcome, Jimi. And you are with Clean Energy Solar Recovery LLC. That's the important part. So welcome, Jimi. How you
Hey,
doing?
how you doing?
Yep. So what I want to do, because you're quite an interesting character, and we wanted to go ahead and
Thanks.
we wanted to give you an opportunity to talk a bit about your business because I think it's a unique opportunity to discuss what's involved in trying to start essentially a solar installation business from scratch. So that's because that's what you've been doing. And also just some of the business model and the business motivation that you have in this. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this wonderful world of solar?
Okay. Well, the idea started way back in like 2006. So that's quite a long time, quite a long wait, but it was just an idea. And I got it from reading something about prisoners in California that were coming out of prison and being trained for solar. And at the time, I was in some trouble myself, and I didn't really have much hopes for a good career at that point. And I'd read about this CDC out in California that were taking people and training them immediately from prison. So uh, it just it was an idea that lingered for a while. I'm an electrician. I've been an electrician for umpteen years, and I was doing that before I got prior to getting in any kind of trouble back then. And I just it kind of went hand in hand, and it took a while for the idea to develop. We didn't actually get started until 22, and I did it kind of backwards. I created the LLC with my wife Heather Braswell, and we created the LLC, and then I went and got trained to do solar. So I did it, and it just kind of pushed. I mean, it pushed me to do it. Once I created the LLC, it was like no turning back. So I found you, and then took your training course, of course, which I failed when I first tested. But I think I just kind of thought that I had it. But anyways, I failed. Came back, retested, and then got that certification. And what I wanted to do, modeling after the CDC out in California, is help people in reentry, not just from prison or having a felony or anything like that, but also for recovery and alcohol and drug related issues, because a lot of people don't have a chance once they come out of these institutions to really pull their life back together, and they feel like there's really a limited amount of careers they can choose from. So solar's always interested me. I just think it's the greatest thing that we can get our power from the sun. um, and it just kind of fell into place, I guess. you know
Well, I was wanting to hear more about how it seems like your business model that you have created for yourself um, is really, really focused on a lot broader issue, not just we're going to install solar or do electrical work. And the role that mentoring, either you mentoring or someone mentoring you, how's that worked for you?
Well, my mentor is sitting there right there beside you. That's Jay on a lot of issues, not just solar, only issues. I still have, like times where I'm not sure that this is going to work out. Even though we've kind of been up and running for about a year now. I still have this impending doom. Like something's gonna fall apart, and it kind of makes it tough a little bit because I have guys that are working for me, and I feel responsible for making sure that they get their hours and their checks and things like that. So it takes a lot of planning, and it doesn't help that I'm going to school time wise, but I'm still in college trying to finish up a degree, and that takes a couple of days out of my week too. So that makes it really hard for planning. But I also have mentors all over. I've got people in the recovery community that are real good, close to me, and help me make decisions about my life. Uh, I have people in the college that help me make decisions about my furthering my career, and then I also, of course, have Jay that we talk weekly about what how this business is going to develop and like the small stages of it right now to where it might develop into something a lot larger later on. But mentoring both ways, I have to take care of my guys with the same, usually the same information that I'm picking up from everybody else, and it seems to be working. It comes to me, and I try to set a positive example for the people that work for me, for other people in the community that have hopes and dreams of doing something larger than working in a AM PM or a Parmar gas station or something like that, for the rest of their lives. I try to offer something that's just a little bit more, um, you know, and conducive to a good career.
Well, one of the things I've noticed with you is in our discussions with you, the guys who are working for you, you're very keenly aware of the issues that they're dealing with coming back, in reentry with dealing with drug or alcohol rehabilitation, and also because you've been in that world, you don't put up with any of the crap that they will likely try and pull, which is kind of interesting. But you also then have expressed, this responsibility of like, listen, I know this isn't ideal, but they're dealing with stuff and I have to help them through that. And so that's, and even to the point of taking them off to the gym, to work out periodically, just because that's something that's helped you through the recovery. And you say, okay, we're going to bond in this situation. We're going to work out whatever issues individually we're dealing with, but also between them, because there's always these clashes between people whenever you get them into any kind of environment. So I just say that to get a comment from you, but also to pat you on the back and say you're doing a good job there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Thank you. But it does sometimes get a little daunting, but my whole business plan is that I can help people coming in from reentry and recovery, and that sometimes means that they have appointments or meetings, things like that is part of their recovery, and that's what that's what my business plan is. And that's what I'm trying to say, I guess, that I try to pay my guys to go to these meetings and stuff like that. It's usually like an hour or something like that, but it helps out, and it gives them a chance to really patch up their recovery, I guess.
Well, that's good because now it's a part of their workday, not something that interferes with their workday.
Right.
You
Exactly.
know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the challenge too, taking self-care. We live in a culture that the idea of self-care is that you've got Botox into your cheeks or something. It isn't about it isn't about caring for each other and saying, "Hey, man, you're not working your program," or you're too tired, and that's not a good way to be when you're trying to work your program and things like that. So I think that has great value. But the other part of that is that it's not very conventional business model. We live in a culture where you're supposed to make every dime, and people, if they take too long to go take a leak, you're gonna like dock their pay. I remember getting fired one time because they said I went to the toilet too often in the morning. I wasn't installing solar, but but I think that when we value others and that their value is broader than how well they install that microinverter. It is about being a team. It is about saying the broader world and the local world are valuable, and I think your business model reflects that.
Yeah, and we do have a pretty decent team right now. I hope to grow as the the solar um, sales and activity grows in the community too. I think that right now, where we say it's like at a 40% every year incline, people are getting more solar 40% every year. Is that correct, Jay?
Yeah, it's growing at that rate. Yeah, it's starting from a pretty small number. We're currently in the US, only about 5% of the homes have solar. So we've got 95% to sell to. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing. And most of this activity has been in California, Colorado, those regions. But now we're primarily, your focus is in Southern Ohio, West Virginia, in that region. And it's kind of interesting because you're coming on the scene there just when places like West Virginia are suddenly just becoming aware that there is such a thing as solar. You know, they've been in the king coal for so long that they're in a transition, whether they want to be or not.
Right. I think a lot of people are opening their eyes to it now. I think the price of the kilowatt hour going up is helping that as well. For a long time, I think the kilowatts were extremely cheap in West Virginia.
Yeah.
Kilowatt hours were extremely cheap, and so people had no reason to. And then you also have people that are, from coal and into coal and coal miners and things like that, that for some reason they you know have different opinions about solar. But I think that people are starting to open their eyes to it and realize that it's going to be the future. And yeah, I can't wait to see it grow.
Do you think people's attitudes, like I know the statistics told us early days that people were converting to solar because it was a political issue for them. Do you think that's changing?
Well, I'll answer for you, and you can agree and nod your head.
No,
Is
I was asking Jay. I wasn't asking you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, in the early days of solar, it was the Mother Earth news types, the ones who were going, I want to do this because I want to save the planet. I want to see everything, better and sing Kumbaya and drive my Prius. That was kind of the people like us,
We don't
and
sing Kumbaya. Come on, we're not exactly like
but
that.
but now the primary motivation, there are a number of them, but the first and foremost is saving money. They want to save money on their electric because their electric bill is getting crazy. Then the secondary one is resilience because my electric may be not reliable. The grid goes down. I get these issues and I'm worried about that. So I want to take control. So this becomes an option. And then, of course, the third one really becomes a little more nuanced as utilities start basically seeing how much they can screw the customer by changing the way they bill and how they bill and
Peak hours.
peak hours and multiple charges and demand
That's only
charges
going to
and
get
and
more
all of
so
that.
too.
So we're starting to see a lot of people saying, I want to put my system in here to moderate some of that. And that's on the residential level. But then on the commercial level, we're seeing so many government incentives coming into play that it's almost like it's foolish if you don't take advantage of this moment and transition.
Can we thank Mr. Biden for this?
Yeah, thanks, Joe Biden, right?
We want to give him credit where
and
credit's due.
and Senator Manchin down there in West
Oh my
Virginia because
gosh.
I like
he's
Arnold Schwarzenegger. To be honest with you, he's started a trend out there that's just kind of rolling, this way.
yeah.
You know.
Mhm. Well, let me just pause here for a second and let people know you are listening to When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine with Jay and Annie Warmke, coming to you from Studio B, WOUB Radio in Athens, Ohio, reminding you it is indeed the end of the world as we know it.
Thank God.
Thank God. There you go. And we're joined by Jimmy Braswell, and Jimmy is starting up or has been starting up a solar installation company with some unique business model concepts here in West Virginia and Southern Ohio. And Jimmy, I wanted to ask you We were just talking about using folks in your crews who are coming from recovery programs, reentering society. But the other thing is your business model is one for the customer. We've talked about this a bit, where you're saying, I don't want this to just be about making money. I want to provide good service at a reasonable cost, and instead of saying, how much can I milk this for? So do you want to comment on that just a wee bit?
Well, yeah, you see a lot of people that are getting into solar, and it's really just for the money. And I see, which I've researched a little bit. Georgia seems to be having a lot of problems with this. Is that people come in and they build these gigantic systems that are probably over, the demand of the household, and they charge a high, we charge by the kilowatt usually or by the watt when we install. So they come in and they build these gigantic systems and leave people with a much larger bill than what they would, had to pay their just regular, fossil fuel generated power over 25 years. And it's taken them forever to pay it off. So I don't want to be like that. I don't want my, I want it, I want to install affordable solar for people that, that are interested in doing it. And I'm trying to make that kind of a trend in my area before it gets started and gets going, because there's going to be once I think once it moves into West Virginia, a lot larger and more active with solar installations. I think that people are going to be doing the same thing. They're going to be trying to maybe get over on people that don't know much about it. So the people that are, I think that what I like to offer is a little bit of education about it before we even start to install a system for somebody. I like to let them know this is what it could be, how big we can make it. We can make it smaller, whatever will fit your income, and try to make that match what their lower than what their power bill is now. So sometimes we just want to offset the power bill. Sometimes we just want to, or depending on what the person wants. Sometimes we want to build a system that does the 120%. It just really depends on what the customer wants at the time.
I heard a rumor that you did a job where you were taking a system apart because they had to repair the roof. So you do maintenance things like that, and you gave an estimate, and then when you did the job, you came back and cut your fee. Did the woman faint?
It, she'd already been through quite a bit with contractors. Somebody had, overcharged her for the roofing job that she had. I think someone else overcharged her for the installation of the solar that they put in. I think they put in way more than she needed, and I felt like she needed a break, really. She needed a break. So what we did, it was out of town. We just charged an hourly rate to do that, and it came out a lot lower than what we'd estimated it to be. So yeah, she was pretty happy. She was pretty happy about that,
Mm-hmm.
and she's having us back
To do more work, to do more work.
to do more work. Yes. Yep. But
Mm-hmm.
she's waiting to. I think somebody had tried to put a metal roof on around the solar that was already there, and it came out really bad. I don't know, but it came out really bad, and they charged her a lot of money for a really bad job. So anyways, I see that happening, and I'm not trying to make a whole lot of money at this. I just want to like give my guys, and my guys a good pay wage, um, and and also give the customer a good price. That's what the whole idea is. I think affordable solar, and maybe more people will join in. Maybe that's what we need.
Well, when you talk about the affordable wage as well, I should point out, and I think you can expand on that, that there are some programs that are in existence that can help employers who want to hire people who are trying to get back into society, and you're working with what is it, Jobs and
Jobs,
Hope?
Jobs and Hope. Yeah, I got to give a little shout out to Dominique Curls for that. She's helped me out with a grant that offers payment reimbursement. So I pay my guys, and then eventually I turn in all the hours to Dominique, and eventually she sends me a check back for the payment that what I paid my guys. That allows me to like really pay my guys well, you know. And
Mhm.
that's what they need. That's what they need. They've got a lot of clean time. Usually when they come to us, it takes about 3 months for them to get into the program before they can get trained. She also pays for training through you guys, through Jay, and once they're trained, they come and they can usually get a job with me if we have the open spot. But yeah, there's a lot of good programs out there that are trying to help people in reentry. So we do use those. That's what helps us keep rolling.
Yeah.
Well, the
So
nice thing about that particular job program as well is it does give you the opportunity to try people out. You know, people
Right,
that you might not hire, but they're saying, "Listen, we're going to subsidize this person for a period of time."
right.
I think of what, 6 months, something like that is.
Uh, it's I think $25,000 or 6 months, whichever one comes first.
Yeah. And so you can say, okay, well, I'll give this person a try because it's being subsidized. And then at the end of that 6 months or whatever, you can say it's not working out. But hopefully, ideally, you've come to know this person. They're working out great, and now they've got a full time job that is no longer being subsidized
Right.
through these programs.
Yeah, I've kept my guys so far. I've only had one that's actually finished that program that's come all the way through the 25,000, and he's still with us. So
Hmm.
and then I got a good crew right now. I've got more guys that are waiting to be hired, but it's just dependent on the jobs that are available right now for us to do. So
well, let me just clarify what you said too, because I think a lot of times people don't quite know how this works, but the guys want to get trained. So they go through a program like what we do with solar PV training. They go through training, they get certified because they have to pass a test. And then they can come be on a waiting list to work with a company or come to work for a company through this
that's
program, right?
right, right. That
Hmm.
is correct. Yep. So
And the certification is not mandatory to do this work. I should point that out. It's just a good idea to let people, to hire people who know a little bit about what they're doing.
that
It's
is true. That is
Well, more importantly, I think it's a self-esteem builder. And I think when you've been in a situation, whether it's prison or relationship, a bad relationship or a bad work experience, to come out of something like that and actually be smart enough to pass the test, whatever that means, then you have this paper that says, hey, I know something. And a lot of people didn't do well in school. They were unmotivated. They might have been super smart like you are, but it was like, hey, it's so boring, or I'm using drugs, or whatever the reason you didn't do well in school. So then that affects how you feel about like taking a class and saying I'm going to get certified. So if you can pass that test, I think it does impact in a really great way that self-esteem.
I think it does too. It's a high achievement, from where a lot of us have came from. It's a high achievement for us, and it does enforce their self esteem and keep them going. But there are guys that I've hired and then put through the class, like Jay was saying. It's not mandatory, but I prefer it. I prefer it, and but I have hired people before and then put them through the class, and
It is a good selling point, though, to your customer to say my all of my employees are certified.
it
It's a good
is.
stall. It's very good. Well,
And
I'm
and
gonna,
we're bonded. We're bonded by the federal
yeah.
government, and so that
Well,
helps
that's
out
very
too.
good too,
Yeah.
in case
Hmm.
Well, that I just point out because you said that one of the issues that people will have a concern with. Because if you say I'm hiring people in recovery or I'm hiring people who just got out of prison or whatever, there are going to be people out there who are going to, because I don't know that I trust them to be at my house, to be in my house. And as you say, they're bonded. But I'll say my experience with these guys is I've never met more polite. I mean, they're very aware that they're being watched, that they're
Yeah,
being
yeah,
judged, and
true.
they're also somewhat institutionalized. It's like
They are.
they know the
Yes, sir. No, sir.
no sir,
Yes,
can I'll
ma'am.
wipe my feet, can I use the restroom, sir, kind of thing,
Yeah,
which is a little bit,
they are.
I don't know,
Because
military.
they're ready to prove themselves. They're ready to prove themselves
Yeah.
that they can do this, and they're ready, they're in a program where they don't want to be this, criminally minded person, with the same old patterns that they had, back when they were using and stuff. They're trying to show a difference, and they're also trying to show a difference to other people coming in. So it's a great program, Jay was we're talking about, some clients, some customers that may not like the fact that my guys are in recovery, and I got a story for that. I went out and I looked at this very large job that, a customer wanted, and we were good. We were good. He was adding stuff and telling me he wanted batteries back up and all these good things, and we looked at the property. He wanted a lot of extra work. We were going to move a meter, like 400 yards to his house so he could run through AEP. And at the end of it, I decided to say, yeah, a lot of my guys are in reentry and recovery, and but they're all everybody's bonded, and that's who I have working for me, thinking that this might be a selling point. Well, it was not. He sent me a text later on that evening saying, I'm not ready to go forward at this time, and I'm pretty sure that that's what killed it. So some people aren't ready for that. Some people don't want people from reentry or recovery working on their houses, and that's true. But like you said, Jay, my guys are very polite. They are just the most upstanding, um, workers when it comes to the job. They're Johnny on the spot. They want to show that they can do what we're doing out there. They want to show the customer that they're good workers. I couldn't ask for a better crew than I got right now. So
Okay, well, Jimmy, we're coming to the end of our time here, and I just want to thank you for what you're doing. You're doing a great job, and you're helping out a lot of folks, and you're going to be helping out the economy of this region. So well done, keep it up, and we're going to be talking each week and making you the solar giant of West Virginia. So
well, one day maybe I prefer to stay just small, small company, and just do residential installations. But we got things coming up, so it's
okay.
getting bigger whether I like it or not.
All right. Well, you have been listening to When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine with Jay and Annie Warmke, coming to you from Studio B, WOUB Radio in Athens, Ohio. We want to thank our ever present, omnipresent producer, Adam Rich. And we want to thank you, Jimmy Braswell
Thanks for
from
having me.
Clean Energy Solar. And we want to thank everyone who's listening for spending a little time with us. And as your grandmother hopefully told you, the secret to a happy and sustainable life is.
I say give people a chance.
All
Clean
right.
up your own mess and eat your veggies, Jay.
All right. Until next time. Bye bye.